Welcome back everyone, I hope you're all doing good and staying safe out there. Now, as most of you probably know, Season 3 was just released not long ago, and with it we got the addition of a new operator, some new maps, some weapon balancing, and 2 new weapons. No, we didn't get a Spaz 12 yet, but we did get a really cool pistol. We have some cool pistols in Modern Warfare, but with the newest edition of the Renetti pistol, we can finally now say we have a burst pistol, something a lot of people had desperately been wanting, and this is my ultimate weapon guide for just that. I'm going to go over some basic stats for the gun like damage and sprint out times, and then go over attachments and what they do, and finish off with some good classes that I think you guys should try out with it. Now let's hop right into it with damage ranges and attachments for range. The Renetti pistol functions very much like a pistol we've already covered in terms of its damage profile. The gun is identical in weapon damage stats to the 1911 pistol and has the same areas of damage, which are the head, the chest, the stomach and upper thighs, and the limbs. Some of the differences between this and the 1911 are the fire rate, the sprint out time, and the damage ranges, which we will look at now. For up to 10 meters, which is our maximum damage range, our base damage, which is the stomach area, shots will deal 36 damage. Headshots have a damage multiplier of 2 times damage, so headshots deal 72 damage here. The chest multiplier is 1.17 times damage, meaning it will deal 42 damage, and limbs have a reduction in damage with a multiplier of 0.92 damage, putting it at 33. Our numbers drop from 10 to 19 meters, putting its 3 to 4 shot kill range to about 19 meters, which is actually 5 meters less than the 3 to 4 shot kill range for the 1911 pistol, which could 3 shot up to 24 meters if you were hitting your chest and stomach shots. And the same as the 1911 pistol, headshots will always be a 2-shot kill in most ranges. I tested up to 51 meters and found going any further to be a bit overkill, seeing as how most people would not be able to hit a target that small at that range with a pistol, and I don't recommend trying. If you are interested in the 3-round burst damage, I'll leave timestamps in the description below as I plan on covering that in its own section. As with all the other pistols and guns, we have multiple muzzle and barrel attachments to help or hinder these ranges, so let's take a look at those. Now first we have the oil can suppressor, which is yet again falsely claiming that it increases range, but based on my testing, it lowers your max range from 10 meters to 9 meters, which is a 10% decrease, and this is on top of covering your iron sights and increasing your aim down sights time by 1 frame, so avoid this attachment at all costs. The monolithic suppressor saw just the opposite of this, with a boost to our max damage range up to 11 meters, which is a 10% increase. It also barely affected our aim down sights time, and the penalty was basically less than 1 frame. The lightweight suppressor penalizes our range and puts it down at 8 meters, a 20% decrease. The Mark I competition barrel lowers our range by 1 meter, again a 10% decrease, but it increases our aim down sights time, or rather decreases, by 1 frame, making it a viable choice if you want to be as quick on the draw as possible with minimum range penalty. Now the biggest range increase comes from the extended barrel, which puts it at 13 meters or a 30% increase. The largest range boost we could get with the monolithic suppressor and the extended barrel would put it at 14 meters, a 40% increase, which compared to the 20 meters of a buffed up 1911 is a bit short. Now the aim down sights penalty for the extended barrel was only 1 frame, which is actually pretty good compared to the other pistols and their aim down sights penalties. Damage though is not the only factor here to keep in mind. If it were, the 1911 would statistically be a better pistol, but if we take a look at some other areas, we'll see this gun can stand on its own and even outshine the 1911 as a secondary weapon. Now before we go any further, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys a master list of the aim down sight speeds for every non-optical attachment, so you can always refer back to this during the video if you want to see how your favorite attachment affects the pistol. Now we're going to take a look at some of the other base stats for the Renetti. The Renetti features a sprint out time of about 7 frames or 117 milliseconds. This is actually 2 frames faster than the base 1911 sprint out time and is extremely fast even for a pistol. As you can see, the Renetti is already starting to have some nice benefits over the 1911. The aim down sights time is at about 10 frames or 167 milliseconds, which is more standard in line with the other pistols. If you want to see how low we can get our sprint out time, check out the laser section of the video, which I have timestamped in the description, and be sure to go back and check out the aim down sights master sheet as well. For the fire rate, I hand measured it to be close to 308 rounds per minute. This is faster than the 1911, which was at around 268 rounds per minute, so technically speaking, the Renetti pistol has a faster time to kill in its max damage range than the 1911 does. As for recoil, the base semi-auto version of the Renetti features a very low and controllable recoil, even at faster fire rates, but it can get trickier once you start to hit 30 meters or so. If you run this pistol akimbo or dual wield, you get more recoil, especially if you are alternating fire. Generally, you want to alternate to minimize recoil, but with this pistol, it throws it way off, so fire simultaneously instead, and your shots are more controlled and easier to handle. Now that we've covered some damage and base stats, let's hop into some attachment categories to see how well they work, starting with the lasers. The Renetti features the three basic options for lasers, which is the 1mW, 5mW, and the tack laser. The 1mW laser helps only with our hipfire accuracy. Looking at the pictures, you'll see that it does help a small bit, and considering it doesn't have any negatives to using it, the 1mW is always a good safe option for better hipfire spread. The green laser, the 5mW, is significantly tighter though, but you gotta watch out for that green laser giving away your position. Now when it comes to akimbo, the base spread for akimbo is wider than normal as you would expect, and yet again, we see the same pattern here where the red laser helps minimally and the green laser helps significantly. Now the green 5mW laser does help reduce our sprint out time as well. The base sprint out time is at around 7 frames or 117 milliseconds. It's already pretty fast, and you'll probably notice when you use it that it's pretty snapping when it comes to handling. Now the 5mW laser will take it down 1 frame, putting it at 6 frames or 100 milliseconds. Since it was already so fast, it didn't really give it that much of a benefit as to keep the gun a bit more balanced. Since we're on the topic of sprint out time, there is also the speed grip attachment which we can use to get a better sprint out time, which by itself has the same impact as the 5mW laser, putting it at around 6 frames or 100 milliseconds. Sadly, combining these two does not help any more significantly, and I found it still to be roughly 6 frames. What this entails is that you want to get the fastest sprint out time possible. You don't need to worry about the 5mW laser really. Only use the 5mW if you want that awesome hip fire spread, because the trade-off for that shiny laser is a bit risky. There really is no clear-cut winner here, but if you want it to be a bit more careful, just run the speed grip instead, and you'll also get that aim down sights bonus of 2 frames along with that faster sprint out time. I advise against using the 5mW laser if you're only going for that sprint out time benefit from using it. The tack laser is the other option here, with some stability benefits and an aim down sights boost up to 8 frames or 133 milliseconds. It's a nice other attachment to use, but I personally never really like to use it. Since the aim down sights time is already quite fast, I usually opt to have the other 2 lasers over this one usually. Up next in the stock category, we have 2 options, which is the FTAC CS3 and the CSX. They both have the same pros and cons, but the only real difference here to keep in mind is the recoil control amount. The CS3 helps alleviate the recoil for both the semi-auto and burst fire modes, of course, a small bit, whereas the CSX, which is essentially the CS3 with an added foregrip, helps maintain recoil even better. Now the CSX does have a penalty of 1 frame added to your aim down sights time, while the CS3 has a penalty less than 1 frame. But the recoil control the CSX has is just too good to pass up, especially when you pair it with the Pro Compensator muzzle attachment. As you can see, the recoil sight jump is minimal compared to without these attachments, so if you want the most recoil control for the gun, I highly encourage you to use the CSX stock over the CS3, absolutely. Then pair it with the Desperado Pro Compensator. It helps quite a bit, I promise. Now just as a note, equipping the CSX blocks you from equipping any lasers on your pistol. You also cannot use a stock if you are running this gun akimbo. For rear grips, we only have 2 to choose from, the XRK Pro and the XRK Speed Grip. The Pro Grip helps mitigate some recoil control, which is nice, but the Speed Grip decreases sprint out time as well as aim down sights time. The aim down sights boost is actually pretty nice, and it helps counter the other attachments that hinder your aim down sights time overall, like the recoil reducing attachments. Since I recommend using the stock and compensator usually, your recoil is already pretty controllable, so I recommend using the Speed Grip in most scenarios to help get a bit more mobility from your class setups. And of course the sprint out time buff with this attachment is on par with the 5mW laser, so it's a great attachment in general to run. In the ammo department, we have the 21 round mag and the 27 round mag. Both penalize your aim down sight speed and your movement speed. Looking at the movement speed penalty, you can see here the 21 round mag is barely noticeable, with a movement speed not much far off from the base speed. The 27 round, on the other hand, is a bit more noticeable overall. The weird thing about these is that both of the mags feature roughly the same penalty to aim down sight speed. Both were just under 1 frame based off of my testing that I did. So if having a movement speed being a little bit slower isn't that much of a worry for you, honestly just go for the 27 round mag. If you hate feeling like a fly in molasses, then just use the 21 round mag to be a bit more quick on your feet. The 21 round mag will give you 7 shots in the burst mode, and it will give you 9 with the 27 round mag. This is pretty nice considering how much you'll want to spam that gun when you have that 3 round burst mode on. Onto the triggers, we have 3 which all impact fire rate differently. The lightweight trigger is almost always a go-to for everyone to use, and here it is no exception. The lightweight trigger will take your fire rate from roughly 308 rounds per minute to 408 rounds per minute, which is about a 32% increase in fire rate, and it feels really fast when you use it. It does hurt your stability, but this is often not a problem for pistols since they're mostly backup weapons, and you probably won't be in situations where you'll need pinpoint accuracy at longer ranges. The heavy duty trigger gives you better steadiness and stability overall, but it hurts your fire rate, bringing it down to 280 rounds per minute, which is a 9% decrease. The penalty isn't that large, but why opt for anything but the fastest fire rate for a pistol? The match grade is a happy medium really, which helps stability, and it helps increase your fire rate to 366 rounds per minute, which is a 19% increase. I think most of you, like myself, will probably end up going for spammability over stability, and especially if you're going to be using it as a semi-auto pistol rather than the 3-round burst pistol. For the next part, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the perks, and more specifically the 2 most popular ones, akimbo and sleight of hand. Akimbo needs no introduction, and you get to dual wield these bad boys. Basically, it doubles the fire rate and the damage output, but you can't aim down sights. With this gun, I encourage you to fire simultaneously to avoid too much recoil with both semi-auto and burst fire modes. Usually alternating helps, but with this particular gun, firing both of them together is much easier to control. For sleight of hand, the reload time is increased by 19% overall. The base reload time is about 1.39 seconds, and with sleight of hand, the reload time went down to 1.12 seconds. It isn't a huge boost, but it's already pretty fast, so honestly, I wouldn't even worry about using sleight of hand on most of your classes, and maybe try using akimbo for some more fun. Akimbo is nice, and with the burst mode on, it can actually delete people out of existence. It's insane. Now, onto the juicy goodness of the video, which is my discussion about the burst mode the Renetti has to offer. In the barrel choices, there is the MK3 Burst mod, which as you would expect, turns your pistol into a 3-round burst machine. Now, since it basically transforms the gun into a completely different gun in a way, how does the damage profile look for it? Well, the body damage locations still remain the same, the head, limbs, stomach, and chest, but the ranges seem to be a little bit different. The max damage range for the burst mode is about 9 meters, which is slightly shorter than the normal Renetti's 10 meters. The Renetti can one-burst people in the stomach, head, and chest area in this 9-meter range. After that, it can one-shot to the chest and head until about 17 meters. So if you have some decent aim and recoil control, you can one-tap from chest up to 17 meters, which is pretty awesome. Past 17 meters, it will always be a 2-shot kill unless you are hitting limbs, which can take it up to 3. For headshots, you can one-burst headshot up to 35 meters, and after that it will take 2 headshots. The strength in this attachment is when you are in that 9-meter sweet spot where you can one-burst people with little effort. Even past that, the Renetti can absolutely melt people away. Most of the time you are using it, it will be a 1 or 2 tap kill in its effective ranges. Now if you pair this attachment with akimbo, you get an absolute bullet hose of destruction. While you won't be able to aim down sights, if you are in close proximity to someone, you can just unload one-burst people if you fire together at the same time, which I do recommend. As you recall, I mentioned this burst does have some recoil, and it's especially noticeable at longer ranges. But up close, you can run around, tap both triggers, kill someone instantly, and then move on to your next target. If you use this attachment, I highly recommend you running some recoil reducing attachments, and if you use it akimbo, treat it as you would a shotgun. It's extremely strong as an attachment, and in my opinion, using the burst mode on the Renetti is the best sidearm in the game now. This is as deadly as the snake shot up close, but it seems to be much more forgiving and consistent when you use it, so I highly encourage you to give it a try. Now that we've covered the meat and potatoes of the video, let's move on to some best class setups, of which I have 2 for you. Both will be using the burst modification, as I don't really recommend using the semi-auto over the burst mode. For the first one, it will be focused on overall balancing and using a single Renetti which balances recoil control and mobility. Use the Desperado Pro compensator, the burst mod barrel, the CSX stock, the 21 round mag, and the XRK speed grip. You'll be getting a faster sprint out time and aim down sights time with an absolute bullet hose of a gun that rewards accuracy with well placed shots. The next class will be an akimbo focus class that highlights being in close quarters. Use the burst barrel, the 21 round mag, the 5mm laser, XRK speed grip, and the akimbo perk. You'll have a quicker sprint out time and a very tight hip fire spread, which will be extremely deadly in that 9-meter range. You can swap out the 5mm laser for the 1mm laser if you choose, but I like that really tight hip fire the green one gives me. And there you have it, folks, the Renetti Burst Pistol. This gun is not to be taken lightly, and it can most definitely be used as a primary weapon if you choose to. As a secondary, it's hands down the best secondary in the game now, and it can do some major damage to people. Keep your recoil low, stay close, and you will be dominating games with this thing. I hope you guys like this video, and be sure to keep an eye out for my next one, which will likely be focusing on shotgun slugs and their performance overall on each shotgun. And with all of that being said and out of the way, I wanted to wish you all a happy day/night, and I will see you in the next video. Brr.